Hey everyone, good morning. It is Saturday, June 7th, and I'm here to give you guys an update on my third post-op appointment. So, overall, my healing has been going pretty smoothly. We did have a couple of hiccups this last week. So, my abdominal incision had opened in a couple of spots about 2 inches long, right below my belly button. And so, we had been texting with the doctor about that this week prior to going in for this appointment. So we knew that there was a chance that I was going to have some stitches, which I do. I have 6 stitches on each side. Well, sorry, 3 stitches on each side to close those 2 spots. It's just that's a really common area where that's the tightest part of where the pull down happens on your stomach. So typically, if the abdominal incision opens up, that's where it is, just because it gets a little bit stretched as you're trying to straighten up. So not uncommon. It looks really good after he cleaned it up and stitched it. So now I just have like gauze over that um, to keep it dry, and then we just kind of monitor that, and we'll keep an eye on it over the next few weeks. But he doesn't have any concerns about that, which is great. The other thing that happened yesterday, to my sheer delight, was my hip drain came out. I've been waiting for that fucker to come out. I wasn't expecting that. My drains were still, or my drain was still outputting between 32 on a low day and around 38 on a high day. My understanding was that I had to be under 20 for 2 consecutive days before that would come out. And his thought was that, normally you have 2 drains in and you have to be under 40. So for me to have 1 drain in and be under 40, he felt comfortable with that coming out. So he took that sucker out, which is a very weird sensation. But overall, like I think I squealed in glee because I was not expecting that. I was really expecting that drain was going to stay in for another at least week or so. So that was probably the best part of the appointment, was that coming out. Because when you have a hip drain in, or any drains in, right, it's really cumbersome. Like any sort of tugging on it, any sort of kind of movement with them is really difficult. You have to drain them multiple times a day. The stuff that's coming out of your body that you're draining is really kind of disgusting, can sometimes be chunky. It's good that they're there, and it's good that that's coming out of your body, but it's just really like I was over it. So I'm so glad that it's gone. I slept so good last night, not having to worry about like bumping it or pulling it or whatever. So that was fantastic. Now, the other thing that happens when that drain comes out is I have been team no pants since my surgery, because of the fact that the drain is so cumbersome. When you put clothes on, you have to tuck the cable in, even if you have a drain pocket, right? It's kind of at this weird angle. You have to make sure it doesn't get kinked so it doesn't get backed up. So I opted to be no pants because fuck that. I wasn't going to deal with it. It was uncomfortable. It was just too much. So, but now that the drain is out, I am team pants again. So because the drain is out, now I have to go into compression garments. On the bottom only, not on the top. So I'm in Spanx, and that is to do a couple of things. One is they want the compression around your abdominal incision, because now that the drain is out, they want you to stay sort of like really compacted together, if you will. And because you're still going to have some swelling, because there's still going to be some fluid, kind of helps to make sure that you don't swell too much, and keeps everything nice and tight. Now, that being said, the more you walk with the compression garments and everything else on, the more you walk in general, even if you don't have compression garments, the more that it helps to get that fluid out of your body. So we are team pants, we are team Spanx. And so far so good. This is the first like few hours literally that I've had them on. It is a little awkward because now I'm back to like feeling right after surgery, when I was still wrapped in all the glue and the plastic or the silicone wrap and everything, that it feels really kind of tight again around my belly, but it also feels kind of comforting in a way, to kind of be so sucked in again. It feels like I have more structure because because I don't have a lot of strength in my abs yet, right? Like, again, with this surgery, you can't use your arms, you can't use your abs, right? You have to kind of let that sort of naturally unfold pretty slowly, so that you don't do any damage to like what happened during surgery. So having that sort of support also feels good. So I am back to wearing pants. And actually, I have a normal top on today because that drain is out and I don't need a hip pocket. And I was able to T-Rex my arms into the shirt and kind of pull this thing over my head. Wasn't graceful, but it happened. So I'm back to sort of regular clothes. So that's kind of a really nice thing to have one more step towards getting back to a quote unquote normal life. So this is the other thing that happened yesterday where my Doppler wires came out. So when you have Diep Flap reconstruction, you're essentially moving tissue from one part of the body to the other, right? It is living tissue. They have to connect to a blood supply. So so I've talked about the sternum pain. So when you have this surgery, they actually remove cartilage from your sternum and attach the blood vessels there, right? That's part of the blood supply. They do it in the sternum and they do it on the sides. So when you have this surgery, they connect these Doppler wires internally to monitor that blood supply and that flow, right? So while you're in ICU, for some people that's, a couple of days. For me, it was 5 days. But for the first 48 hours, you are connected to this Doppler monitor so that they can monitor the blood flow. And it basically sounds like you're listening to a heartbeat or an ultrasound or something like that. It's very comforting to know that your boobs are literally alive, right? Because if for some reason that starts to fail, or there's like, sorry, this is really weird having pants on and trying to adjust the waistband. That blood supply, they need to monitor that so that if anything goes wrong, they can take you back into surgery. Or if you get a seroma or a hematoma, they can quickly monitor that with the Doppler, understand kind of where things are. And then if they need to take you back to surgery, those wires remain. So you generally don't get those out until your third or fourth week. So he pulled mine out yesterday. And it is a really strange sensation, you guys, like kind of on the creepy side, because those wires that are in you are about, I think, 2 to 3 inches long, I would say. And they're, even though I'm mostly numb here, I do have some sensation, but you feel like the thread being pulled out of you, right? And you can feel how deep it is and long coming up. So really, really, really bizarre. But glad to have those out, right? So now I've got my hip drain out, I've got the Doppler wires out. So now the only thing that's left are really the stitches that are internal. Remember that when they do this surgery, all of your stitches are internal, and then externally, very rarely will you have external stitches except for your drain, and those come out when your drain comes out. But then the rest of it is really glued. So you might have during your time as you're healing and everything is coming together, the stitches internally will dissolve, but sometimes they do poke out through the surface. I have one actually under my, what side is this? My left breast that is poking out, which is very weird. And you can't pull on it. You really just need to let it like find its way out or dissolve, or when you go back for your next appointment, your surgeon will take it out. So overall, it was a pretty good appointment, right? I was really satisfied with everything. And so what does that mean for me now in the future? Well, given that it is 24 hours later since my appointment, I was able to take my first stand-up shower today, because when you have a drain, even though you have a lanyard that you wear around your neck, it's still kind of swinging around. And because I was still struggling with some other stuff, like I was sitting to take a shower. Now that that hip drain is out, I was able to take my first standing shower today, which was glorious, and be able to kind of wash all the parts and bits, but be able to stand. I still can't reach the top of my shower head, so I have to move this other adjustable head mount around. But it was great. So I was able to do that, which was wonderful. And then last night sleeping was absolutely glorious, because it is the first time in almost a month that I wasn't having to sleep in a very protected and specific way so that I wasn't hitting that drain at night. Remember, I'm sleeping in a recliner, so the space in and of itself is very tight anyway. And then when you have this drain that's on your side, right, you have to make sure that you don't turn and pull it or like, catch it in the side of the seat or, a hundred different things, right? So being able to sleep last night, not have to worry about that. I was probably the most comfortable I've been in a while. I got like an 84 sleep score, which is one of the highest I've had since I've had my surgery. So that was really great. I feel really pretty good today. So that was good. So what comes next? Well, unfortunately, one of the things about taking a stand-up shower today is that I was able to kind of clean myself off, with my breast still blistering or still being blistered, and we're going through that healing process. I was kind of checking everything out after the shower, and I felt like I had some pain a little bit under my right breast, and I wasn't kind of sure what was going on. And sure enough, I have about another 1.5 to 2 inch opening under my breast. It's right along the incision line of the lower flap. It's not like bad. It doesn't look like it's super infected or anything like that. I think part of the problem is because incisions need to stay really dry. I think it's kind of because it's a little bit leaning in. I think that it's getting moist, and so it's causing some problems. So we have a note out to the doctor to see what he says about that, if I might have to go back in this week and have that checked, or if he's going to recommend potentially dry packing that with some gauze and some tape just to kind of keep it as dry as possible. I don't know yet. We'll see. But for now, we'll kind of see how things go. Everything else is great. I if depending on what he says about that incision under my breast and that new opening, we may not have to go back for 2 weeks, which will be great. And then at that appointment, we'll kind of start talking about what a revision timeline looks like. Now, again, because of the blistering on my chest, we don't really know how long it's going to take for that skin to heal. So we'll get more into that at a later date. But for now, super happy where everything is. I'm just so glad to have that hip drain out, and despite having stitches, to close those open spots on my abdominal wall, being in the Spanx, being back into regular clothes, it's just one more step to getting back on the road to my normal life, right? To kind of being regular again. So it's great. Again, every day gets better, and I'm super grateful for that. So I hope this was helpful. If you have any questions or want to know more about Diep Flap reconstruction surgery, kind of my healing process, what's been going on, comment below, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Otherwise, go out and enjoy this beautiful day, and I'll talk to you soon.